Welcome to your Cabernet Sauvignon wine plan. I'm Stuart Ake, and I'm here with Keon Tavicoli, one of our fantastic winemakers at Crushpad. Today we're going to be going through each step to kind of unlock how you put together your Cabernet Sauvignon. After we go through the wine plan, I highly recommend you check out the videos on CrushNet, and that would be the Winemaker's Minutes. What we've done is we've taken each step of the wine plan and kind of highlighted the characteristics that each of those Winemaker's Minutes helps you out with your wine.
First thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is, yes, target alcohol. And that, a lot of ways, is related to the ripeness level of the fruit. Okay. Now, with Cabernets, very seldom do you now see Napa Valley Cabernets hovering around 13%. On average, they're always in the 14 to 15% range. Higher your alcohol level is, the more fruit-forward your wine's going to be. Okay. The denser the wine's going to be. You're going to have more glycerol content in the wine. It's going to appear denser and lusher. Okay. The alcohol being a little lower, you're going to have a little bit more refinement in the wine. It won't be as fruit-forward. There'll probably be a little bit more of that food friendliness to it.
And it really affects the weight on the palate as well? Or?
Definitely. Okay. Alcohol has a lot to do with power and with also viscosity and weight in the mouthfeel. Next point that we get to, which is to some extent related to alcohol content, is amelioration. Okay. Now that's a fancy word for diluting or watering down the must or the juice that comes in.
Now, I know some people are kind of concerned about adding water to their wine. Why do you ameliorate?
It's definitely a little bit nerve-wracking because nobody wants to dilute flavors. Nobody wants to dilute color, tannins. And anytime you mention any kind of watering down, just the term itself can't help but make customers and individuals nervous about a wine actually getting diluted or watered down. But really what we're doing is a couple of things. First things, we do want to make the wine as balanced as possible, and if we do end up with ripeness levels that are higher than what the potential alcohol that a client wants as a target alcohol is, then you need to do some level of amelioration. Otherwise, you will end up with considerably higher alcohol levels than what the client wanted. Okay. A lot of that obviously is based on our picking decisions, and a lot of our picking decisions are based on flavor development, tannin profile, seed ripeness. A lot of those components, there is years where ripeness level is going to exceed the actual target alcohol that a client's looking for. So
if it's a really warm year.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Exactly. You really need to kind of have a fine balancing point between flavor development, tannin softness, as well as seed ripeness, and also the potential alcohol of any given client's wine. So that's where the first challenge for a lot of us at Crushpad, as well as even our clients, is being able to get that balance between getting the flavors developed and also not having a wine that is totally off the charts when it comes to alcohol.
pH. You hear these are two letters that are thrown around in the wine industry all over the place. Why is pH so important?
It is the measurement of the hydrogen ions in a given solution. The spectrum of pH is actually quite large, 0 to 14. Everybody that's taken basic high school, even grade school chemistry, knows that anything below 7 is an acidic solution. Anything above 7 is
alkaline.
Or basic. You're getting a little too sophisticated for people here. But yeah, alkaline or basic. Now, and everybody knows that the pH in wine is on the very low end, anywhere between 3.3 and 4.0. And really, there isn't any unit measurement to pH. It's just a number. And with the Cabernets, with the most red wines, you're always north of 3.5. As opposed to most white wines, particularly the ones that are steely and sharp and vibrant, they're usually less than 3.5. Probably anywhere between 3.2 and 3.4. So as far as your cap's concerned, you have a cap that actually is quite round, quite weighty, and I would think that having your pH hover around 3.7 is going to give you that weighty textured feel without being too angular and sharp. Okay. Unlike wines that are made in some unripe years, or wines that are made in a more restrained style that actually can benefit from a few years of bottle aging before you can start to approach them. Those are the wines that you're looking at the 3.5 range pH.
Okay, so and then now we're going to move on to total acidity.
Correct.
Or titratable acidity.
Titratable acidity. So that basically is the measurement of the acids that are in the wine. The majority acid that's in wine is tartaric acid. Excuse me. Then there are various levels of malic, and then which then are converted to lactic acid. There's some succinic. There's probably also a few other ones that escape me right now. But at this point, measuring total acidity is to some extent very much related to your pH level that you have. You can have very high TA levels with the right pH that you want on your target, and your wine is still going to appear a little bit out of balance or a little bit angular. You want to basically bring that acid in the mid-5s to mid-6 ranges for a hardy Cabernet, because anything too low, below 5, is going to appear a little bit dull and flabby, as well as if you're over 7 or 7.5, you're looking at a wine that's a little bit angular and sharp. Most of the winemakers, in fact, if not all of them here at Crushpad, are very fond of doing acid adjustments in the juice stage, because at that point, that's where you have a lot of the integration of that additional acidity happening with the wine, so that you have a more balanced wine once everything is finished with alcoholic and malolactic conversions. So if you were to do any kind of acid adjustments at a later stage, there are times where you actually have this kind of a layering effect, where you kind of can notice this angularity, this kind of bite, even up to bottling time. So what we do is we measure the chemistry of the juice when it comes into the winery, measure the pH, measure the TA. If we find that there are issues with the pH where it could potentially lead to a very high pH after the wine's finished, taking it away from our target range, then we need to look at doing some kind of an acid adjustment so that we can end up hitting our target range and not going over it.
The next piece that we're going to be talking about is splitting of skins, whole cluster in stem inclusion.
Yeah, so here now we're talking processing of the fruit. A very exciting time in the winery, because the fruit's coming in, your wine is about to start getting made, and hopefully you'll be here the day when we're actually processing the fruit, so you can get up there and do some sorting, and then do some punching down, taste the juice for the first time, see this beautiful, murky, pink-colored fruit juice that 2 days later is going to be this black, inky, crazy extracted wine. So really exciting at that time in the wine's life. And yeah, first decision to make is, do you destem everything, or do you actually throw some whole clusters into your fermentation? Because that's becoming kind of a trend with certain types of wines that are made out here in California, so as well as other parts of the world.
And when you say a trend, what does it do if you put whole clusters in your bin?
Well, it does add tannins. There's quite a bit of tannins in the stems themselves, although we both know that Cabernet has quite a bit of it in the skins as well as the seeds. So when it comes to making a very balanced Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa, the only choice is to destem everything, because you really don't want to throw the balance of the tannins out of whack. So you do want to actually take advantage of what you have in terms of the skins and the seeds through fermentation kinetics and through fermentation management and cap management, and not worry about over-extraction by having any stems included. Varieties like Pinot, varieties like Syrah, those are varieties that actually can benefit from some stem inclusion, particularly in vineyards where there just isn't a lot of tannins in the seeds or the skins. We know Pinot hardly has any in the skins, so that's where the stem profile comes in.
So whole cluster is kind of less of an issue with Cabernet Sauvignon?
For me, it's almost a non-issue. I don't even consider it.